Hey Chase, I'm not exactly sure the last time you played a defensive snap before this last week, but I imagine it's probably been a little while. Would it feel like just being back out there in that kind of zone?
It has been a while. I mean, preseason and before that regular season, I haven't taken many at this level. So I felt like I was a little rusty and I felt like it had been a while, a step slow at times, but it was fun. It was fun to be out there and I was, grateful for the opportunity. Just tried to do my best to do what I needed to do to help the team win, basically. So really just tried to focus on doing my job, not doing too much. And there were definitely some things to learn from that one for a lot of reasons. So
What
Chase,
were some of those things you take away, like learning wise?
just to go. Sometimes things are happening so fast. I mean, you get practice and you're out there and you're trying to make sure you're doing things the right way. And come game time, you just got to cut loose. I felt like there were a couple of times I was doing too much thinking and not much, just going. And that's something I've known for a long time. It's just like you said, it's been a minute, and sometimes it takes trust in your body, trust in yourself to get back into just going, just cutting it loose. And there are a number of I wish I could have just cut it loose and not been trying to think over like, hey, where am I fitting? Where am I going? But that's something that you learn from, and I'm glad we got the win, and glad I got to at least do enough to help. So.
Chase, I don't even know for sure if you guys are going to face Jalen Hurts this week, but you know, describe what you're coached, what you're taught, what kind of mindset you have to have with that mentality when you face one of those quarterbacks where you have to be patient and aggressive at the same time. You know, a lot of that kind of hover and only attack when it's smart to not give up the rushing lanes. Is that a real challenge for trying to be an aggressive defensive player?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Being patient and in attack mode. I think what it comes down to is the defensive staff is going to put together a really good game plan, and we got to do our job. There's always these very unique quarterbacks, especially at this level, that just they can do it all. I think Hurts is kind of the epitome of that this year, of someone who can throw the ball, and with the best of them, and he's an awesome athlete. And so he's one of those guys, and the offense is just one of those guys that has so many weapons and so many ways to hurt you that it's kind of a combination of what I was just saying. You got to be able to do your job, and you got to be able to do it fast, because if you're focused too much on doing your job, then you usually step slow. But if you're not doing your job, then a guy like Hurts will expose you. So it's a little bit of both, like you said, which is what makes it so challenging. You can't just be a one-dimensional defense in those type of games.
What has your experience been playing with Tyrann Mathieu as a young player? What has he brought behind the scenes? Energy, leadership, intelligence. What he's seen, any of that stuff.
He's been awesome. I mean, Tyrann, I can think of a number of guys, but someone like Tyrann specifically just brings the level of experience and success that when you watch a guy like that, you learn a lot from. You learn a lot from the way he does things in general. You learn a lot from the way he plays the game. He does it in such a unique fashion to where he literally he's just out there playing. And I think one thing I've learned from him is just kind of like what I was just talking about, trust your instincts. He's a big instinct guy, and he makes these plays that a lot of guys can't make because he's just one of those guys who can trust his instincts and just play football. And that's sounds simple, but at this level, it's harder to do than you realize sometimes.
Were you really impressed with his open field tackling in a physical game like this in particular?
Oh yeah. I mean, anybody who's going to be able to make an open field tackle against some of those guys in that kind of weather, it's impressive. And like you said, I think people talk a lot about the size, but when you have the kind of fight that he does, it doesn't really affect him much. He made a couple of plays on a couple of stiff arms where he chopped the arm down, shot the legs. That were just, those type of games, every yard matters. So it was cool to see him make some of those plays.
Chase, I was going to ask y'all about y'all's performance in the against Cleveland's running game this past week. I mean, I imagine you guys knew going into that game that was going to be kind of paramount in the conditions you were playing in. And I just guess after looking at the film, how do you think you guys played against them in that way?
Okay, it's hard to gauge in a game like that where there's so many uncontrollables, the way things happen. But when you have a running back like Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, you have this 1-2 punch with a really good O-line and a lot of weapons. I think we did okay. I think about myself specifically, and I think there are a number of fits I wish I could have had back. And a number of times that those offensive linemen get up to the next level, they run that stretch game really well. And sometimes you can know what they're going to run, and it's just man on man, and you just got to win your one-on-one. And there were times where I think we did win it, other times we didn't. So all things considered, I think that we held our own, but in terms of playing the run game, I think everyone knows we could do better. I felt like the defensive line played lights out, and a lot of guys played well, but I'm sure we, as a unit, wish we could have had a few plays back, myself included, like I said.
Hey Chase, I've got a kind of a more big picture question here, but when coming out of Cleveland, when you're going through you're part of a team that's been in a long, difficult season, and you're down 10 in adverse situations and you win, do you see anything significant about what that says relating to the team's kind of collective spirit and mentality at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think what it says is we got a bunch of really mentally tough guys. It's something that Coach Allen preached all week, and it's one thing to talk about it; it's another thing to see it, come to fruition in a game like that. And that's, football's a mental sport, but it's clear that it's also a very physical sport. If you have great physical tools, there are sometimes where you can just overcome certain mental weaknesses, I guess you could say. But this was one of those games where you just can't. You've got to be able to do it for 4 quarters. You got to keep going. You can get, put on your butt, and then you just got to get up and keep playing. Everyone's playing in the cold, and yeah, it was cool to be a part of, and just the mental toughness that I feel like it showed at this point in the season, at that point in the game. I was impressed, just by a number of guys, and I was just grateful to be a part of it.